What if the fairy tale didn't end with a limousine and a kiss on the fire escape? What if love, fragile yet unforgettable, had one more chapter to tell? Imagine Edward and Vivian, not as the bright young lovers we first met on the streets of Los Angeles, but as older, wiser souls, carrying years of life, scars of mistakes, and memories that never faded. The question is simple, but the answer is everything. When fate brings them face to face after 3 decades, will their story find a new beginning, or will it finally close for good? Section 1. The Return of Edward and Vivian 30 years have passed since Edward Lewis, the wealthy businessman, lifted Vivian Ward into a world she never imagined she could belong to. Their romance became the kind of legend that movies are made of: passion, laughter, and a bond that crossed social lines. But time has a way of testing even the strongest of connections. Life moved forward, choices were made, and somewhere along the way Edward and Vivian parted paths. Edward's life after Vivian was not as golden as people would believe. He walked away from the ruthless business empire he once ruled, selling off his company and retreating into a quieter existence. His days are now spent in quiet reflection, far removed from the high-rise boardrooms where deals shaped fortunes. He is a man of success, yes, but also a man haunted by regret. Every so often, in the silence of his luxurious but empty home, he thinks back to her smile, the woman who once showed him that money wasn't the only way to measure value. Vivian, on the other hand, has lived a life of transformation. From a girl struggling on the sidewalks of Hollywood Boulevard, she grew into a woman of independence and strength. She built her own business, becoming a voice for women trying to find their place in a city that often swallows dreams whole. She learned to fight for herself, to rise above what the world expected of her. Yet even with all her success, there is a space in her heart that never fully healed. A space where Edward's memory still lingers, not as a wound, but as a whisper of what could have been. The story begins again on one unexpected evening in Los Angeles. Vivian returns for a charity gala, an event filled with glitter, cameras, and familiar faces from the city's elite. She enters the room, elegant yet grounded, a woman who carries her past with pride rather than shame. Across the hall, Edward stands near the edge of the crowd, watching, almost disbelieving. Time seems to stop as their eyes lock. The room fades into silence, and for a moment feels as if 3 decades collapse into a single heartbeat. But this is not the same Edward and Vivian from years ago. They are not naive, not untouched by the sharp edges of life. Their reunion is bittersweet, filled with joy at seeing each other again, yet heavy with the weight of time lost. They exchange polite words, but beneath their calm smiles, emotions surge like an unspoken storm. It's not just nostalgia, it's recognition. Both of them know deep inside the story between them was never truly finished. The trailer teases this emotional spark with slow, tender scenes, Edward extending his hand as if to invite her back into his world, Vivian smiling in a way that's both cautious and curious. The two walking down a familiar Los Angeles street, now older, wiser, yet carrying the same undeniable chemistry. Every look, every pause, every word carries history, and with each moment, the audience feels the truth. Their love story isn't over. As the music swells, the voiceover reminds us, some stories never fade, some loves never die. They wait for the right time. The glow of reunion quickly gives way to the shadows of reality. What seems like destiny pulling Edward and Vivian back together is also a reminder of everything that drove them apart. 30 years may have healed some wounds, but it has also built walls. The trailer begins to shift tone. What started as a dreamy, nostalgic reconnection now carries tension, mystery, and the weight of unfinished business. At the charity gala, where their eyes met across the glittering room, Vivian is honored for her work with young women struggling to build better lives in Los Angeles. Her speech is passionate, inspiring, and filled with the strength of someone who has walked through fire and survived. Edward watches, both proud and pained. Proud because she became everything he once saw in her potential. Pained because he wasn't there to see her journey unfold. but then the twist begins to take shape. The event is hosted by one of Edward's old business rivals, a reminder that his past, though left behind, is never truly gone. A man approaches Vivian with a smirk, whispering a reminder of Edward's darker side from the old days' deals. Made lives ruined, fortunes gained at the cost of others. Vivian, once the girl who saw Edward only as her savior, is now a woman wise enough to question, who was Edward really, and can she trust him now? The trailer flashes between moments of tension. Vivian confronting Edward in a quiet corner, her voice firm but trembling with emotion. "You built an empire, Edward, but what did it cost you?" His reply, simple yet heavy, carries the pain of truth. Everything that mattered. The conflict isn't just about trust. There's more. Edward's personal life has its own scars. A grown son, estranged and bitter, enters the story. He blames Edward for a childhood shaped by absence and corporate obsession, and when he meets Vivian, the tension sharpens. The son sees her not as a symbol of love, but as a reminder of his father's choices, the life Edward might have chosen instead of being a present father. Their interactions add fuel to the fire, making Vivian question whether stepping back into Edward's world would only reopen old wounds. Meanwhile, Vivian faces her own dilemma. She has built a career helping women rise above broken circumstances. Young women look up to her, see her as a mentor, a role model. But reuniting with Edward, the man who once lifted her out of the life she left behind, could send a complicated message. Is she embracing her past, or betraying everything she has fought for? The trailer teases her torn heart with flashes of her sitting alone in her apartment. Looking at an old photograph, her face caught between longing and doubt, the tension builds. With fast cuts, Vivian slamming a door shut after a heated argument. Edward staring out over the city's skyline, alone with his regrets. The son, confronting his father in a boardroom turned battlefield, his words sharp. You don't get to fix everything with one grand gesture. The music rises, dramatic strings filling the background, while the voiceover poses the central question. When the past collides with the present, can love survive the weight of truth? For a moment, the trailer softens. Edward and Vivian share a quiet night walk through Beverly Hills, memories of their old story hanging in the air. He reaches for her hand. She hesitates, then pulls away, whispering, "It's not that simple." Anymore, the scene fades to black, the tension unresolved, leaving the audience desperate to know what comes next. This is not just a reunion. It's a reckoning. A love story interrupted by time, challenged by secrets, and tested by the people they've become. The conflict is clear. For Edward and Vivian to rediscover love, they must first face the ghosts of their past and decide if forgiveness, trust, and second chances are stronger than the mistakes that tore them apart. The section closes with a powerful image. Vivian walking away down a quiet street, her silhouette fading into the night. Edward stands in the distance, calling her name, his voice breaking. The trailer cuts suddenly, leaving only silence. Then the title card appears. Pretty Woman 2, 2025. The trailer shifts tone again, softening its sharp edges and leaning into the emotion that fans have been waiting decades to feel. After the storm of conflict comes the quiet that reveals the heart of the story. Edward and Vivian. Two people shaped by time, mistakes, and growth, rediscovering what once made their love unforgettable. This section of the trailer is not about action or confrontation. It is about feeling, about memory, about the delicate spark that refuses to die even after 30 years. The screen fades to a familiar hotel suite, a subtle callback to where their story first bloomed. The camera lingers on a jewelry box, opened slowly by Edward. The audience holds its breath, remembering that famous scene, the necklace snap. The playful laugh, the moment that defined their chemistry. But this time, there is no laughter. Edward opens the box, revealing not a necklace, but a simple ring, timeless, understated, filled with meaning. He closes it quietly, as if unsure if he will ever find the courage to give it to her. This silent gesture, without a single word, speaks volumes. Vivian, meanwhile, has her own echoes of the past. In one scene, she mentors a young woman trying to escape the very life she once lived. We see the girl being turned away in a high-end boutique, humiliated, belittled exactly the way Vivian once was. But this time, Vivian steps in. She takes the young woman's hand, walks her back into the boutique, and demands respect with quiet authority. The trailer flashes images of the staff scrambling. It's the young woman trying on a beautiful dress, and Vivian smiling, not as the outsider she once was, but as someone who has claimed her power. The callback to the original shopping montage isn't just nostalgic, it's transformative. It shows us how far Vivian has come, and how she has become the mentor she once needed. Intercut with these moments are Edward and Vivian's private conversations, quiet, intimate, filled with the weight of years. They sit across from each other. In a dimly lit restaurant, the world around them fading into blur. Vivian asks, softly, "Why now, Edward? Why, after all this time?" He looks at her with eyes full of regret and longing. "Because I finally know what matters, and it's you." The audience feels the ache in every syllable. The trailer doesn't shy away from vulnerability. We see Edward admitting his failures. To his son, his voice breaking as he confesses, "I wasn't there when you needed me. I can't change that. But maybe I can do better now." At the same time, Vivian reflects to a close friend that she's afraid of losing herself if she lets Edward back into her life. "I fought too hard to stand on my own. What if I forget who I am?" This emotional tug-of-war captures the essence of the sequel. Love is not enough unless it can coexist with truth, forgiveness, and growth. As the music swells, the trailer stitches together a series of emotional highs. Edward and Vivian dancing under city lights. Their faces close, their smiles uncertain but real. A shot of Vivian laughing, truly laughing for the first time in years, the sound echoing like a memory reborn. Edward watching her from a distance, his face filled with awe, as though seeing her for the first time all over again. Scene of Vivian trying on a gown, the camera capturing the sparkle in her eyes as she sees herself reflected not as who she was, but as who she's become. And then comes the iconic callback, modernized yet hauntingly familiar. Edward approaches Vivian, holding the jewelry box. He hesitates, as if afraid to open it. This time, Vivian reaches out, gently placing her hand over his. "You don't need to play games," she whispers, smiling with warmth. He opens the box slowly, revealing the ring. Her expression softens, her eyes brimming with tears. For the first time, it feels like this isn't just a gesture of charm, it's a promise. It's a chance at something real. The emotional core of the trailer lands with a single, powerful question. The voiceover asks, can a love story that defined a generation find its ending, or will it finally find its beginning? The screen fades to black, leaving only the sound of a faint laugh, Vivian's laugh from the original film going. Before the music swells back in, nostalgia is unmistakable, but it's layered with new meaning, reminding audiences that this is not just a rehash of the past. This is about love reborn, love tested, and love redefined for a new time. The trailer reaches its most powerful stage, the moment where emotions explode. Tension rises, and the story feels bigger than just two people. What began as nostalgia has now become a storm of passion, conflict, the terrifying question of whether Edward and Vivian's love can survive the test of truth, time, and second chances. The music quickens, strings and drums pounding like a heartbeat as the screen fills with a rapid series of images. We see Vivian stepping onto the balcony of a luxury hotel, looking out at the glowing Los Angeles skyline. Edward appears behind her, his voice low, desperate. "I don't want to lose you again." She turns, her eyes wet but strong. "Then don't give me another reason to walk away." The words cut like a knife, echoing the raw tension between them. The trailer then introduces the stakes at their highest. Edward's estranged son, still furious and distrustful, confronts Vivian. "You think you know him," he says bitterly, "but you don't know what it cost us to make him the man you fell in love with." Vivian, shaken, begins to question everything. Quick flashes show her pulling away, her face conflicted, while Edward is shown pacing in his penthouse, slamming his fist on the table in frustration. Their story is no longer just about rekindled romance. It is about survival. It's about truth, about whether two people can rebuild trust when the foundation beneath them is cracked. The shots become faster, more intense. Edward shouting in the rain, his suit drenched, his face raw with emotion. Vivian walking away through a crowded street, tears streaming down her face as strangers blur around her. Edward's son storming out of a family dinner, a glass shattering on the floor behind him. Vivian staring into a mirror, her voice trembling as she whispers to herself, "Who am I without him? Who am I with him?" But even as the storm rages, the trailer reminds the audience of hope. Between the dark moments are glimpses of light, Edward and Vivian laughing together, briefly forgetting the years of pain. Tender scene of Edward placing his coat around her shoulders on a chilly night, their eyes locking with unspoken love. A shot of Vivian's hands slowly reaching for Edward's, hesitating, trembling. Before finally intertwining with his, the music swells into a powerful crescendo as the screen shows one last iconic callback, the fire escape. Just as in the first film, Edward climbs, this time slower, older, and not with the same effortless charm. The camera captures Vivian watching from above, her face filled with both fear and hope. The audience knows what it means, the symbol of a grand gesture, but with 30 years of history weighing on every step. Will she let him reach her, or will she close the door before he arrives? The tension peaks, and suddenly the screen cuts. Too black. Silence. Then, Julia Roberts' voice, firm and emotional, fills the darkness. We may have lost 30 years, but maybe this time we'll get it right. The title card explodes onto the screen. Pretty Woman to 2025, the tagline follows in bold letters. Some love stories never end. They just wait. The music fades out with a modern, slowed-down instrumental of It Must Have Been Love, echoing softly as the screen holds the final image. Edward and Vivian, older but still magnetic, walking hand in hand down a Los Angeles street. The city lights shine around them, but their focus is only on each other. The trailer closes with one last teaser, lingering shot of the jewelry box snapping shut. A sound that fans will never forget. It's fade to black.